Hey everyone, Gnogart here. So Maze of Millennia released last week and I already had 3 bonfire in my shopping cart, but then I thought, do I really want to spend that money? So I just scrapped them all and instead I got Earthbound cards, which work well with runics, and I also bought a Flame Swordsman engine. So Flame Swordsman has been experimented with Infernoble Knights, which I also picked up. Which obviously has a lot of synergy because they're all fire warriors and they use equip cards. But then I read this card and actually thought, why not mix it with Fire Kings? So that's the video I wanted to do today. I wanted to show you a Flame Swordsman Fire King hybrid, which is really fun and can deal a lot of damage, so enjoy. Alright, so let's get into the deck profile. Starting with the main deck, we have 3 of our Fighting Flame Swordsmen. Main starter, we have 3 Fighting Flame Sword, just more starters, and also can protect this from Imperm if you already have it. So if you open both, you can just use this for the Imperm protection effect. We have 1 Salamandra. You only need 1. You send it off of the Flame Swordsman anyway, and drawing it doesn't do much for you. And then for the last monster is, for the last monster of the Flame Swordsman, it's Mirage Swordsman. Now, this is not used in the Infernoble versions. Obviously, it doesn't have any synergy, but in this version, it's really good. So, first effect is if a face-up fire fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special this card from your graveyard or from your hand. So, just the same as Garunix, so quick ruling disclaimer here, you cannot trigger both of Garunix and Mirage Swordsman off of the same destruction. So let's say your Flame Swordsman get destroyed and you have this and Garunix in the grave. Because they both could summon themselves from hand, you cannot activate both on that trigger, so you have to choose. So just keep that in mind. For the second effect, that's where the synergy comes from. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon 1 Flame Swordsman, level 7 or lower, from your deck or your extra deck to your field. So this can just, by getting popped, summon your Fighting Flame Swordsman, and this will then get its effect, and you can access your Flame Swordsman engine from there. So this is the connecting piece between the 2 engines. Now, for some one-offs, we have 1 Flame Swords Realm to get your Flame Swordsman out, also has a nice attack boost. We have Salamandra Fusion to get the ultimate Flame Swordsman out. We have 1 Flame Swords Dance. If a monster is special summoned, you can special summon 1 level 7 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, that is Flame Swordsman, or mentions it, and then you can Book of Moon 1 monster on the field, non-targeting. And during opponent's battle phase, you can banish this card from your grave and tribute 1 face down monster you control to special summon 1 Flame Swordsman or monster that mentions it from a deck or extra deck. So battle phase, obviously not the most flexible, and you would have to book your own monster if a monster is summoned. So that effect usually doesn't come up, but if you know your opponent has to go into the battle phase, you can just book your own monster and get out your boss monster by this card. And then we have 1 Salamander with Chain. On activation, you target 1 fire monster on the field, equip it to it, give it 700 attack, and then you can Book of Moon 1 monster. And the grave effect, you can banish it and then fuse into a Fire Warrior or Dragon Fusion monster by using monster from your hand, field, or graveyard by shuffling them back. So basically a Tearlament fusion. And then rounding out the Flame Swordsman engine, we obviously have the 1 Rhoda. Now, going into the Fire King engine, we have 3 Ponix. The Abelstar lists, bonfire lists, usually play 1 of it because it's so accessible. So if you have wanted engine and you want to play it, you cut this down to 1. It'll probably help you play through hand traps a bit better because you don't have to normal summon this. But for this, trying to keep it as budget as possible, obviously you go 3 Ponix, which actually is also a bit more space efficient. So you only have these 3 cards instead of the whole Diabellstar engine. Then we have 3 Kirin, obviously, just very good card. You can just pop your own monsters if they imperm also, and it's good for the grind game. So you definitely want 3. You actually burn through these quite quickly. Then we run 2 Fire King Island and 1 Sanctuary. We want to keep the engine as small as possible, and this is just the best ratio to do so. You will see in the combos why I went for this exact ratio. And then for the one-offs, we have the 1 Garunix. We only need 1 here. We want to keep the engine small. We have 1 Balrog to do your main Fire King combo, and we have 1 Fire King avatar Kirin. So small Kirin is here because you can send this, destroy this off of Garunix, and if this card is destroyed, you can send a fire monster from your deck to your grave. So that would mean you can send your Flame Swordsman, which will then in turn send your Salamandra. So you can access that engine that way. That's it for the 2 engines. We then run 3 Power of Prosperity for consistency, and because we have 2 engines that we want to connect, using Pot to try to fish for either of them is really good. Plus our extra deck isn't very tight, so you can just banish some cards and you don't really care that much. Also, what's really funny, you have the damage that you do, but this deck can easily OTK through half damage. I can show you later. And then for the rest of the deck, we have non-engines. So I just went with hand traps here. So we have the mixed rarity Ash Blossoms, just to annoy some of the viewers. We have 3 Imperm. We have 3 Effect Veiler, and we have 3 Drow and Lockbird. So try to keep this as generic as possible. You can obviously do whatever you want. A recommendation I have is just going for Super Poly, because you have space in the extra deck. It's very flexible. You can just go Super Poly with an extended package, and if you don't need it, you just Pot of Prosperity them away. But for this generic deck list, I just went with hand traps. So that does it for the main deck. And let's go into the extra deck. We have 2 Flame Swordsmen. You actually want 2 because you can get through them pretty easily. And you can summon it once per turn with the Flame Swords Realm. So 2 of them is good. We only need 1 Fighting Flame Dragon because it can equip itself from the grave all the time. And then we have 2 Ultimate Flame Swordsman, your main boss monster. The second one is a luxury, so if you want to go for that Super Poly line or you have something else that you want to play, you can definitely cut this. But you can sometimes summon 2 of them, like one with a Salamander of Chain, one with the Salamander of Fusion. Then we have 2 XCs. We have 1 Garunix for our Fire King combo, and we have 1 Typhon. Now, obviously, this is a bit of money, so if you don't have Typhon, doesn't matter, you can replace it with anything. Again, Super Poly targets are good. You can play it in Gear Suit to clean up boards. Just use whatever you want. Now, for the links, we have 1 Doolittle Chimera. So this card actually is important for some of the combos. It needs 2 Fire Monster. We want to end on Fire Monsters on the board because of Salamander with Chain. And this is a good target to get popped by Kirin. Plus, what's really nice, it boosts all your monsters by 500. And since our Ultimate Flame Swordsman doubles its attack, this is actually 1000 attack boost. And then on top of that, you also have the Fighting Flame Dragon, which grants your monster a 2nd attack. So this 500 extra attack becomes 2000 extra damage. Then for our end board, we also have IP and yes, SP. You can obviously play Unicorn, you can play Appaloosa because you have the bodies for it, or you can just cut these entirely because there's another line you can do instead of these in the main line. I will show you later on the combos, but I like to end on these 2. Now, the other line includes Linkuriboh. Linkuriboh I would always play in this deck. It's just flexible, it opens up a lot of lines. We have the Sunlight Wolf and the Heat Soul for the other line. So that's something you can do too with your bodies. And for the last 2 slots, we have 2 of the Charmers, Hita, Dark. Pretty easy to make your whole deck as fire, and you have Linkuriboh for the Dark. All right, that's it for the deck list. Let's get into some combos. So for the first combo, I just wanted to show you the 1-card Flame Swordsman combo, just so that you know what that is about. So you have 1 Fighting Flame Swordsman, you normal summon it, and you add to your hand a Flame Swords Realm. Then you activate the Flame Sword's realm and use the effect to send the Flame Swordsman to the grave. And summon your Flame Swordsman from the extra deck. This will then trigger the Fighting Flame Swordsman, who will send your Salamandra to the grave, which then triggers and adds you your Salamandra Fusion. Then use the Salamandra Fusion on the Flame Swordsman, send it away, and summon your Ultimate Flame Swordsman. And lastly, you will equip that Flame Swordsman with the Salamandra. So this now has 3500 attack and has a quick effect pop. Plus, if it gets outed, the Salamandra in the spell trap zone will get sent to the graveyard and trigger and add you another Salamandra card. So you can see with one card, you just basically get a Zodiac Dryden with a lot of attack, which you can see why I wanted to supplement this engine with something to make it a bit stronger. So let's go into the more interesting combos now. All right, so the bread and butter combo is having access to Fire King Ponix and having access to a Mirage Swordsman. That can be Mirage Swordsman itself or a Fighting Flame Sword. I will, in this case, use the Fighting Flame Sword because there are two applications for this that can be, you can alternate with in this combo. So let's do this. If you want to play around roll a bit, you can just shotgun the Fighting Flame Sword in the draw phase. But what you can also do is wait with it. So you normal summon the Ponix and add yourself a Sanctuary. You activate the Sanctuary, which will then get you the field spell. And now you can activate the field spell, see if your opponent ashes you, and if they don't ash you, you can chain the Fighting Flame Sword and get you your Mirage Swordsman, which you can then pop on the resolve of Fire King Island. Now you add to your hand a Garunix. Now, because the Mirage Swordsman was destroyed by card effect, it triggers, and the Garunix also triggers. So you will order this Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, because this can't get ashed, this can get ashed, but if your opponent is halfway competent, they will ash the Fire King Island. But you summon your Garunix and your Mirage Swordsman triggers to get you your Fighting Flame Swordsman. Now, again, two trigger effects, one of them can't get ashed, so you go 1, 2. Garunix will just send you your Barong to set up your Fire King combo, and the Fighting Flame Swordsman will add to your hand, in this case, your Flame Swords Dance. Now, what you will do is you link these two off into your IP Masquerena, which triggers the Fighting Flame Swordsman, sends your Salamander to the grave, which then triggers and adds you your Salamander with Chain. You can then set these two and you're good to go. Now, if you don't want to go for the IP line because you don't have SP and you don't think it's strong enough, the alternate line would be going into Sunlight Wolf, linking this into Linkuriboh. Linkuriboh then can add back your Fighting Flame Swordsman for follow-up. And here you can go into Heat Soul. The reason why I like the line with SP more is first because SP is kind of busted, and second, it's because the summon of the IP Masquerena is your fourth summon. So just doing this, you have a very resilient board. I can show you in a minute. And it plays under Nibiru. So the Nibiru in your opponent's hand just doesn't do anything here. So you can pass with this, and in the standby phase, your Barong will trigger and add you a Kirin. Now you have a slew of interruptions here. You can first have the Salamander with Chain, target your Ponix, use it as a Book of Moon for your opponent. If a monster is special summoned, you can use Flame Swords Dance, and you summon out a Flame Swords Man here. You can also summon the Fighting Flame, but you don't want to do this because of the follow-up play that I will show you soon. So you just go into the Flame Swordsman here, Book of Moon, another monster, and that's that. Now, you have the IP Masquerena. Now note that you cannot link these two off for SP Little Knight because SP Little Knight needs effect monsters and Flame Swordsman is a non-effect monster. If you want to go for an Appaloosa line though, you can use all of these. But let's just say we go into SP Little Knight here, banish something. You can banish this through its own effect, and just love the Flame Swordsman. You can go Kirin, pop the Flame Swordsman, summon itself. This triggers the Garunix, which comes back, and on summon can send a Kirin. Now that Kirin will trigger to summon back your Ponix, pop a card on the field, and then the Ponix triggers. And this is why we play this exact ratio of Island and Sanctuary, because you get the second Island here. This will come up later. So now on summon of anything, you can go into this Garunix and Raigeki the whole field. And let's say your opponent just somehow clears everything, the IP doesn't resolve, goes to the grave, and you just are left with nothing, right? This is where the whole Flame Swordsman engine comes in. So let's say they also attack you with a Yatagarasu, you just don't top deck. All you have is the Fire King Island. So what are you going to do? You can use the Salamander with Chain in the grave, banish it, and shuffle back your Salamandra and the Fighting Flame Swordsman. You shuffle those back, and you get out your Fighting Flame Dragon. This is why we didn't want to summon this off the trap, because this is a dragon and a Fire Warrior monster. You can also, if you want, you can recycle your Flame Swordsman here instead of the other Flame Swordsman. That's also possible. Then you use the Fire King Island, use the effect to pop the Fighting Flame Dragon and get your last copy of Kirin. Now, because the Fire Fusion monster has been destroyed by card effect, that will trigger your Mirage Swordsman and get it out of the grave. Again, you cannot trigger both of Garunix and Mirage Swordsman here. You have to wait a bit. Now, you have the Kirin, and you can use the Kirin effect to pop the Mirage Swordsman and summon this out. Now, this will trigger both Mirage Swordsman and Garunix. Garunix comes out, and Mirage Swordsman summons from the deck Fighting Flame Swordsman. On summon, adds you Flame Swords Realm, sends the Fighting Flame Swordsman, gets you your second Flame Swordsman here. This triggers the Fighting Flame Swordsman, sends the Salamandra, adds the Salamandra Fusion. You use the Salamandra Fusion, send the Flame Swordsman for Ultimate Flame Swordsman, and now you can equip from the grave both the Salamandra and the Fighting Flame Dragon. So what you can do now is you can pop a monster, deal 500 damage, and these two both give each 700 attack. So your Ultimate Flame Swordsman is at 4,200 and can attack twice. Now, you can attack with this and use the effect to double its attack. Now we are at 8,400 attack twice, and that's 16,800 attack. And then you can also attack with the Garunix, and on attack declaration with Garunix, you can use Flame Swords Realm, decrease the attack of Fighting Flame, Ultimate Flame Swordsman by 1,000 to give these two plus 1,000. So we have 16,800 here, plus 500, that's 17,300, plus 5,100 here, plus extra 2,000. So that's way over 20,000 damage. So even if you have Prosperity on your opponent, DNK'd 3 times, you will still lethal them here. So that's the bread and butter combo of this deck. Just like a ton of interruptions and a very, very strong follow-up play. So if you watched the deck profile and thought to yourself, hey, you play 6 normal summon, isn't 5 the number you want to play usually? Yes, but there's a combo with these two that I can show you now. So if you have these two, you can normal summon Ponix, go into your Fire King Island play. So you go Sanctuary, activate the island. Now you can use the island, pop the Fighting Flame, add Garunix. So you go Chaining 1, Chaining 2, summon, send Salamandra. So then you trigger Salamandra and Garunix. Garunix sends the Barong as usual, and the Salamandra will get you your Salamander of Chain. So then you can just link these two off. And this is where the Doolittle Chimera comes in. Into Doolittle Chimera, set the trap, and in the standby phase of your opponent, you get the Kirin. So with this setup, you have Salamander of Chain to Book of Moon, one of your opponent's monsters, and then you can Kirin, pop the Doodle Chimera, summon this out. This will trigger both Doodle Chimera and Garunix. So Garunix comes back, and Doodle Chimera will add back the Fighting Flame Swordsman. Garunix can then send from your deck to the graveyard a Kirin. We know how this works. This will get you back your Ponix, pop a card, Ponix, add another Viking Island. You also obviously have this for the Xyz. And again, let's say your opponent does all of this and you have these two. So just the Fighting Flame Swordsman here can just get normal summoned, add your Swords Realm, and now because we don't have the Salamandra in deck right now, we just do it the other way around. We equip it, and then you go Flame Swords Realm, send this away for Flame Swordsman. Now the Salamandra triggers, and also the Fighting Flame Swordsman triggers. So now the Fighting Flame Swordsman sends the Fighting Flame Dragon, and the Salamandra adds you the Salamander Fusion. You use this to send the Flame Swordsman, get the ultimate out, and equip the Fighting Flame from the graveyard. So now you have a 3500 monster with a pop that deals 500 damage, and this can attack twice and obviously double itself to 7000. So that's just drawing your two normal summons. You can end on the hold interruptions there, plus you have this follow-up for damage. So for the last combo, I just wanted to show you a small glimpse into the future once Phantom Nightmare releases. And that brings us Promethean Princess, and with that we can actually use the Fire King engine to connect into our Flame Swordsman engine pretty easily. So you need Ponix as always, and one of these two. Let's say Kirin, because Kirin is the 3 off here. So what you want to do is you normal summon the Ponix, and again you get all of your Fire King stuff, Sanctuary into Island. Now, before you use the Island, you actually link off the Ponix for your Link Kuriboh, and then you use the Viking Island to pop the Kirin and add yourself your Garunix. Now, Kirin triggers, Garunix triggers. You get this, and now on summon of Garunix, you can actually send your small Kirin, which then triggers sending your Flame Swordsman, which then triggers sending your Salamandra, which then triggers to add your Salamander of Chain. Now, what you can do from here is you actually link these 3 off for the Promethean Princess that I obviously don't own yet. And you can use the Promethean Princess to then bring back your Fighting Flame Swordsman. Now you get the summon effect of this card too. So you can add your Flame Sword Dance. And then with these two, you can go into your Endla Whale. And then you can set the 2 traps and you're good to go. Because Endla Whale is obviously a fire monster, you can equip it with Salamander of Chain. That's 1 Book of Moon. You can use Flame Swords Dance to book something else. Get a Flame Swordsman out. And obviously Promethean Princess, you can summon it back. Pop the Endla Whale, pop a monster of your opponent. And because you pop the Endla Whale, your Garunix will trigger, special itself. And if you want to run this version, you will have to play 1 copy of Arvada at least in your deck, because now you want to trigger use the Ponix to pop the Arvada in your deck, triggering it, and summoning back your Kirin so that you can still use your Sanctuary here to go into Ponix. So that would be post Phantom Nightmare with Promethean Princess just getting into your Flame Swordsman engine. You obviously have your Salamandra with Chain in the graveyard here so that you can fuse from your grave the Fighting Flame Swordsman plus the Salamandra into your Fighting Flame Dragon 2 for your follow-up. So just wanted to show you that. That's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you like this deck. Do you like this more than the Infernoble? Have you picked up your Flame Swordsman card? Just comment it down below and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, see you next time.